Boris Ondo. And I wanted to give you a little bit of explanation or introduction about what he has been up to. So currently, Boris is working as a facilitative leadership professional, and he has been achieving absolutely so much, including he won many awards. He served as a diplomat at the Embassy of Gabon for many, many years. He was also the founder of the African Youth Action Foundation, which I believe is also called AYAF. And of course, he was recently featured at this TEDx event called Daring to be Different under the topic of standing out in an outstanding society, which I believed was so interesting and
Thank you.
inspiring too. So, welcome again, Boris, and thank you so much for your time and presence today.
Thank you, Jane. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is exciting because you are also located in South Korea.
Yeah.
And I
Yes,
believe,
indeed.
yes, some of our audience might be wondering your journey, how you got here and which got you here and everything, which was shared a lot during your recent TED Talk. So I wanted to quote some of what you shared, if that's okay with you. This was actually,
Sure.
thank you. That was one of the most impressive talks I've recently watched, by the way. So, this quote was actually from your mother, but I wanted to share it because it made such a strong impression on me. And I believe it's a important message for many people right now. So, quote, whatever life throws you at in this arena of life, seek to know how you can charter your own pace to make it in your life. Again, I was very, very touched by this message. So I wanted to highlight this message again. And you also, during the talk, shared your love and passion for knowledge, although you were not quite into education itself per se, which was, I thought, an interesting point too in this part of the world, especially. And you shared your thirst for contribution. So, some of the keywords knowledge, contribution, and how you can be you impacting the communities and societies. So, those keywords knowledge, contribution, impacts I wanted to share with our audience today. And yeah, so can you share a little bit of your stories of how you got here today as a start?
Jane, thank you
Long
very
story
much
short.
once again for having me. And I'm quite, honored to see that and flattered to see that you took the time to go through all this, you know, uh, TED Talks and to know a little bit about my story. And I'm also honored to see that and humbled to see that somehow it has been, impactful because at the end of the day, that's the whole purpose, seeking to, to be an inspiration to others, seeking to bring a little bit of impact in life, and maybe that can serve to change maybe not someone's life, but at least someone's perspective of life and bringing him to a certain good course. I'm from Africa, as you saw in the TED Talk. I'm from Gabon. It's a small French-speaking country, and when I say small, it's mostly because of the population. We're only 2 million people in Gabon, and I grew up in a humble family, very humble. My mother was a teenager when she had me. She was in middle school, only 17. Had to quit school because before I was even born, my father and her had split, and she had to find ways to raise me alone. And she got married again, and she took the time to raise me. But she was a strong woman, just because she didn't go too far in school, and she didn't have the privilege to be born in a wealthy family. Uh, she had it in her to be a fighter, trying to make it in life, try to succeed, but she didn't have that opportunity. So she sought to instilled that in me, having me understand that there are possibilities, and whatever you were born in shouldn't be, you know, a reason to stop you from becoming whosoever or whatsoever you can become, because life is just full of possibilities, and the only limitations that you can actually find are those you will put on yourself. So she sought to push me, and that she did, and I got into it, and I finished high school. And uh, when I finished high school, just a year later, my mom passed away. Actually, middle school, just a year later, my mom passed away, and that was a difficult experience. And still, I kept the words that she used to repeat in me, that whatever comes, make sure you deal with it appropriately and still push, continue to push in life. So I continued, graduated from high school, and luckily for me, I got a scholarship from the Korean government, and quite a prestigious scholarship that made me come to Korea and studied my bachelor here in political science and diplomacy, and graduated, started working with, the embassy of Gabon. And as a diplomat, I was in charge of trade and investment department. I was a trade and investment attaché for about 6 years, five and a half. After that, I quit, and I started the consulting business, and I was just yearning for more impact, yearning to be more on the ground, having something concrete to bring to people, to propose to people. And I sought to just inspire young people like me, and I started the African Youth Action Foundation. And the core message of the foundation, when teaching and instilling that motivation in young people, was basically that you're just as good as anyone else. You might not be better than the rest, but you are as good as the best. And that mindset is for you to cultivate. That, mindset is for you to have all the time, that you can achieve great things. You can be better. You can do better. And that's what has motivated the African Youth Action Foundation. Until now, I'm working as a uh, organization development consultant, as a facilitator, still teaching leadership, and I'm very happy with that.
Awesome. What a journey it has been. I can only imagine. And this message you just mentioned, you are as good as the best, is something else that we can probably keep in our heart. So thank you again. So you taught during your talk, I believe, your superpower is really being you, right? So throughout the
Yeah.
talk, I could feel that the uniqueness and what you can only do has been impacting your life and also our community too. So I really want to appreciate that, appreciate you and for that. So because I'm not personally quite familiar about facilitative leadership, I wanted to move on, if that's okay, to discuss a little bit about what you do right now. So you mentioned that you're working, as the facilitative leadership professional, but what exactly is it that you do, and how do you define facilitative leadership yourself?
Um, Thank you for this opportunity, because the word facilitation is pretty new in the ears of people. Whenever I mention that I do facilitation, people always wonder, what is it? What do you facilitate? Yeah, facilitation, using the definition of the CEO of my company, and which I find very interesting. You can have many other definition out there, but Richard Koo defines facilitation as the process, you know, of it's like designing a process, using tools and using techniques to make it possible for a group of people, to achieve a common goal or a common purpose. But you do that by standing neutrally and assisting them going through that process. So you do not really intervene in the process. You help them find a solution. You help them come to achieve their goal just by helping them through a process that you have designed for them. What is usually current is when people meet in a group, it could be for a meeting, it could be for, you know, an organization. People have hard time coming to a consensus. People have hard time deciding on what they really want to do, because there are a lot of disagreements. This one
Mhm.
thinks like this, the other one thinks like that, and we don't really know how to come to a common ground. Then
Mhm.
that's where a facilitator is needed. The facilitator is the one who plays that neutral role, stands as someone neutral, designs a process for the group to follow so that every contribution will be acknowledged and harnessed, and then helping them reach the conclusion they actually all want to reach. But sometimes it feels like they are against each other because each other's ideas want to, prevail. But the truth
Exactly.
is that they're not against each other. They just don't
Mhm.
know how to agree. They just
Uh-huh.
don't know how to do that. So a facilitator that I am comes in and designs a process for them to follow, and then I assist them go through that process neutrally, acknowledging the input of each and everyone, making them see what they seem not to see, helping to shut down the ones that who has a higher voice, so that it will not dominate the rest in the room, but
Mhm.
contribute as much as others. Also
Uh-huh.
bringing the people who are usually not speaking in the group because they are influenced by the ones talking too much.
Mhm.
So that's the role of a facilitator that I am. And then I include the leadership in it to make them understand that, hey, you are as a leader as anyone else in the group,
Oh.
and your voice counts just as anyone else.
Mhm. Mm.
So that's the work that I do every day.
Wow, super important, yet super challenging and requires a lot of, I believe, patience,
Yes,
which is
yes,
like one of the highest merits that a human being can have, I think.
absolutely. It takes your understanding of the human nature,
Sure.
and
Mhm.
patience in the human nature, and most importantly, belief in the human nature that people
Mhm.
are not inherently bad. So everyone coming to that meeting, they're not inherently bad people trying to ruin the meeting or ruin
Mm.
everyone. You
Mm.
know, they have their apprehensions, they have their doubts, they have their
Mm.
interests, they have
Mm.
their fears, they have their hopes and expectations. So, as a facilitator, I try to help them manage all this together
Mm.
to reach to a final goal that they all actually want, but they just don't know how to get there. You
Mhm.
know.
Wow, it's so interesting because, especially when you were mentioning that you're helping them realize how they want to agree instead of disagreeing or
Yeah.
fighting with each other sometimes. So it's important that you help the people that they were actually wanting the same thing. They
Yeah.
wanted to achieve the same thing, and they can eventually achieve or um, approach a common ground. So, do you have any tactics like super power skills that you yourself use oftentimes? Like, for example, asking this type of questions or just listening for a longer term, or just you were saying something about shutting down
Mm,
the more vocal ones during a meeting
mm,
such and
mm.
such, but would you have some tactics to introduce, because I think that'll be interesting to hear.
Absolutely. Well, I was jokingly saying shutting down,
Oh,
but
oh, sure,
you,
sure,
you,
I'm sorry.
you know,
But I totally got what you meant, because I was
mm,
in many, many meetings where that,
yeah,
happens. Like, with
right,
no exception, almost all of the
yeah,
time, we don't know how to agree because we don't quite get how to, probably better communicate and reach to an agreement with each other. So I think what you do is so gracious and so important.
that's true. I mean, the one who has a higher tone or higher voice in the room is not a bad person. So
Sure, sure.
is he's trying. He believes that what he thinks is right.
Sure,
He
yes.
believes that his idea should prevail. He believes that his idea is the best. So that's why he's trying to express it in a way that influences others so that his idea will
Mm-hmm.
prevail. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily want to shut him down, but you want to manage his, you know, eagerness, is temperament. You want to manage that. In other way, you want to help him slow down a bit,
Mm,
express his idea in a way that will also respect the ideas of others,
sure.
in a way that people will actually listen to him without being offensive, or without, um, you know, denigrating others. So that's what we try to do. And the other thing is, you don't seek to eradicate disagreement. No, disagreement is important. Disagreement is necessary. You people can't always agree on every topic. And that's a notion that we always try to make people understand. It's okay to have conflict. It's okay to disagree. But most importantly, it's okay to listen to each other's why you disagree. You need to
Oh,
understand, why is it that I disagree with him?
mm,
What is it in what he or she says that makes me disagree? And that
mm,
person with whom you disagree also needs to have an opportunity to hear from you, your opinion. Don't just disagree, say why you disagree and bring an alternative. So, as a facilitator, we bring that out of people. And how do we do that? We use this.
oh,
This is a marker pen. And we use post-its. Oh, I don't have a post-it here. We use post-its. And what usually happens is, when wonderful, you got my back. So, what usually happens is, when people talk without visualizing what they're saying,
mm,
they seem not to really understand what's going on. So, a facilitator that I am, I come in and I write everything that people say.
oh,
One would say one thing, I take the time to write that down. The other one would say another thing, I take the time to write that down, so
oh,
that all of them can see visually what each and everyone is saying. And the more they see it, the more they can, ponder on it, and actually come to a sense like, oh, maybe that's not bad. Maybe we can link this one with that
mm,
one, and it can make sense. So we try to scribe it to give people a visual, because
oh,
some people can think just by listening. Other people think better when they see, right? So we provide that opportunity for them to see everything that's going on. That's one.
mm,
Two is, we make them write their ideas on post-its
mm,
so that they can express everything that is in them without being interrupted,
mm,
without being judged, without being criticized. So, what do you think about this? And they write it on the post it, all their ideas. And we take those post its, we put them out there so that everyone else in the room can go around and see what the rest of the people are thinking.
mm,
And based on that, they will try to coordinate with their own thinking and see, oh, maybe this one matches with that one. At the end of the day, oh, we're thinking the same thing, basically, but we were expressing it in a different way. So there are a bunch of tools and techniques that we use to do brainstorming, to do brain analysis, to do ideation, to do all these things, so that people will realize at the end of the day that we're saying basically
mm,
thing in a different way. We want almost the same thing in a different manner. So that's what the work of a facilitator is.
mm. Wow, lovely. I love the fact that, again, how you're so patiently and elegantly helping people to realize what they really want. Because oftentimes it's so unfamiliar for us to organize our own thoughts, because sometimes we were not questions about those topics. We didn't really think about it in an organized way. So
Yep.
super, super important and great tips. So put down what you think in your opinions as visuals. And don't
Yep.
think that you are, even yourself, like sometimes we criticize ourselves, we judge ourselves. You don't need that,
Yeah.
is what I learned from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you have the best ideas. Everyone's ideas is the best idea.
Hmm.
You know,
That too,
so
of course.
suspension of judgment is important.
So during your TED Talk, you shared that you were not quite into education. Now I see you're such a great educationalist. You are educating many people by, for example, sharing your messages, impacting others, influence our thoughts, and gearing our thoughts in a more positive way. So I really want to say thank you for that again. And I wanted to ask you, during your career as a facilitator, what do you think is the most important tactic if you were to influence somebody? Would you have one thing to recommend? How do you
Um,
influence others?
well, if you allow me to just come back a little bit on something,
Please.
in the TED talk, I did say that I didn't like education, and I said it very jokingly because I was talking about traditional way of educating people, putting people in a box.
Oh, yes.
And education per se is okay, but there's a traditional way that education usually has that puts people in a box, mark them in a certain way, that
Mm,
if you don't do that, then you're not quite worth it. That's what I was actually trying to talk about. But yeah, I like knowledge, and you can't really get knowledge in a structured and systematic way if you don't really go to a normal way of education. That's what it is. You can read books, you can do this, but if you want to structure your thinking, you want to systemize it, you need a good education procedure to do that. So that's just the disclaimer that I wanted to bring out there.
of
The other
course.
thing
And I
is,
am so with you in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think we need to free ourselves up through our
yeah,
education process.
right,
Anyhow, that's a whole
right.
other, like, really
That's a
like
whole
3 hour
other
discussion.
topic.
So let's drop it for now.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. But
Absolutely. No,
yeah,
I
how to
understand.
influence others. Do you have your own advice for us?
Here's the thing, as a facilitator, I don't seek to influence others.
Uh-huh.
Ironically, as a facilitator, I seek to help people be themselves and
Mm,
really express what is within them. I want them to be empty when they leave the meeting, feeling satisfied that I did say what was in my heart and I'm going out without anything in my heart. I expressed it.
mm,
That's the thing. People go, you have to understand, when people go to a meeting, they come with expectations, apprehensions, fears, doubts. And those things might have been created by different reasons. They're in the same department with a colleague and they got frustrated by the way the colleague does things and they began to suspect the colleague, thinking
mm,
that that person is against me. So the next thing they do when they find themselves in a meeting room having to decide something with that colleague, they bring that old perception there and they will feel like if I'm throwing this idea out there, maybe that colleague that I've always suspected is the one against my idea because she doesn't like me. I knew it from day one. So, and most of the times that has nothing to do with it.
oh,
Maybe your idea is really not a good idea in this circumstance, right? And that has nothing to do with the
mm,
fact that you had a
mm,
prior, you know, conflict with a person. That could also come in, but not necessarily. So, as a facilitator, what I really try to do is to help people express themselves without any apprehension, suspending
mm,
judgment, right? And if they do have any apprehension, let them express them clearly, right?
um,
They shouldn't go there without, saying what's in their heart, because that would be a miss, and that would be
oh,
something, we will be missing the opportunity to get exactly what is in the heart of the person. And therefore, that would
mm,
limit the potential of the contribution we are supposed to get in the
oh.
meeting. Yeah.
Wow. That's such a powerful tool. So let it out first and then move on to the neutral area where we can discuss more important things and focus on them.
Right, right,
Oh, wow.
right.
Wow.
So the facilitator is basically a neutral person. You don't
Mm,
engage in anything that you neutrally design a process that will help people feel safe expressing themselves, that will
sure.
help people feel confident, not
Mm,
expecting to be judged or
mm,
discriminated or criticized or
sure.
no, right? So that's what you do as a facilitator. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, when people come out of there, they're like, whew, I didn't expect this to happen. Now I feel free. I've been able to express myself. And on top of that, we reach a conclusion that we're all happy with, you know.
Mm. Exactly. I actually came up with like a couple more questions regarding this, but I know you're a busy person and it's a weekend, your family time. I'm taking away from it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
this
I'm
would
very
be
happy
my
with you.
this would be my last major question to you. So I was really curious to hear about what you think is the best merit a leader should have. One word for a good leadership. It really doesn't have to be one word, but it's really up to you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. Look, yesterday I filmed the ninth episode of my GBB, the Growth
Uh-huh,
Beyond Border. And
congratulations.
thank you. And we that's the topic that we actually dealt with,
Oh,
leadership. Here's my thought. Many people, or the common, spends time when they talk about leadership, they spend time talking about theories,
mm,
techniques, methods, skills. All these things are important, really important for leadership. But to my perception, leadership doesn't start with that. A good leadership starts with the right mindset.
mm,
And when I talk about the mindset, I'm trying to refer to the ability, first of all, to reckon yourself and accept yourself as a leader.
mm,
That's it starts with that. If you don't have that confidence in you, if you don't have that mindset of leadership, whatever techniques, skills, and methods you will learn, if the belief system is not in place, you won't be a good leader. So
mm,
it starts with the mindset of leadership. Do you see yourself as a leader? Do you understand that the position you're holding is a position where the people that you're leading are counting on you for decision, looking up to you for direction? Are you taking them somewhere? And do you believe in that yourself first? Because if you don't, you won't be able to inspire them to follow you. So it's the mindset first. And the second thing in the mindset is the way you look at the people you're leading. Are you
mm,
looking them as humans, as individuals, as a whole? Do you respect them? Do you believe in their possibilities, their capabilities, their trust? That's the leadership mindset. And then secondly, you need to have a vision, because the word leader originally comes from the old English word called lethen, and which means to go or to guide. So if you are a leader and you're not
oh,
taking your people somewhere, or you're not guiding them to a specific direction or destination, you're not leading. That's why Maxwell said, if you are a leader and no one is following you, you're only taking a walk, because leadership means taking people somewhere. So you need to have a vision, a mental picture of where you're taking your team, your
mm,
organization, your group. If you don't have that mental picture of destination, you're not leading. You're beating about the bush. You're probably managing, maybe, but not leading. So basically, if I should, that's a passion for me. So I can go on and on and on. But these are the basic things I could say about leadership.
sure, absolutely. So trust and vision, those are the two words that gave me a strong impression. So before you go, where do you see yourself 5 years later from today?
Oh, well, I see
This
myself
would be
doing the
my
same
last
thing.
question. And you can,
Good.
I'm sorry, you can give us some closing comments with it too.
Interesting. Well, working on my books now. They're probably in 5 years they would already been out, and I look forward to continuing to, you know, contribute to helping people become better and achieve things and go somewhere. A lot of people just don't know where they're going. When I was in school, in college, I was really sad usually when I would speak to some of my classmates or colleagues and I asked them, "What do you want to do in the future?" And they would tell me, "Boris, I don't have a dream. I just go to school and let's see what's going on, what will happen." And that's a sad thing. And a lot of people are still living that way. They don't have a mental picture of where they're going with their lives. They don't even know how to start thinking of where they're going in their lives. They're
Mm.
living on a day to day basis, you know. And that's not a way to live. You can't achieve anything in life if you don't have a vision of where you're going. My favorite book says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." That means they have no restraint, no limit. That's why a lot of people find themselves doing everything, no limit to their lives, because they don't have any mental picture of who they really want to be. So I
Mhm.
really look forward to continue impacting people, instilling in them that vision to be somebody, achieve something, and contribute to the world in one way or the other.
Wow. I wanted to give you an applause almost. But because this is a live event quietly being held, so I will just let you go. But I want you to know this was a very, very interesting and inspirational discussion or talk. Thank you so much again for being here and enjoy your
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you very much, Jane, for having me. Look forward to having more interactions with you.
Sure. Same here. Thank you. And bye, everyone.